Hey, what's up, guys? I want to do a book review. Of course, the subject of precious metals has come up recently, once again, and this is one of two books. There's another book specifically on investing in precious metals that I want to review as well. But this one I wanted to start off with because this is probably one of the best basic books on investing. Obviously, you could say Precious Metals Investing for Dummies. You know, the For Dummies books have been around for a long time now. And this is no different than the other ones. It's very well written. There's the author down there. He has his own YouTube channel. In fact, if you search for Precious Metals Investing for Dummies, it'll come up with a video with him and someone else. I believe they share a YouTube channel, but they have about 12 or so videos. Really, really awesome videos to watch. In fact, you know what? I'll find it again and I'll link you in the description box. So if you want to talk to this guy directly and ask questions and stuff like that, or just compliment him on such a fantastic book, you can do so. Easily available. Really, really, it's just a perfect all-around book for everyone to enjoy. The other book I'm going to be reviewing, you'll see that in the future, but that's a little bit more for advanced stuff. Once you have the basics down and you understand principles and terminology and the idea of investing, and you have a better understanding of what you want to do, which you'll get from this particular book, that's when you can branch out and read into some more detailed stuff. All right, but for anyone, whether you know just a little bit or absolutely nothing, this has got to be the best book I've read out there. I've only read maybe 6 or 7 books on the subject, and I'm sure there's plenty more, but this is definitely my favorite. It's a pretty fat book, like most of the For Dummies books. $24.99 US. All right, it's the price here. I'm sure you can find this on Amazon now. But get one used. I got this one used. I think I paid $9 for this. It's got a big old crease in the back. I don't care. I can read it. All right, I'm not a book collector. All right, as long as it's legible and there's no mysterious stains, I really don't care. So yeah, when buying books like this, particularly for information purposes, get them as cheap as you can. Even if they're a little bit beat up, no big deal. So I love the breakdown of this book. There's a lot of different subjects. Okay, of course it gives you the basic history of metals, first of all, which is fantastic, and that's something I want to read. I want to read one little section to you in a second, which I find interesting, and I'll branch off and talk about some other stuff with that. But besides giving you a little bit of basic history on precious metals, both gold and silver, there's a lot of variety in this. They touch upon base metals, investing in base metals in here. Now, unlike gold, silver, platinum, stuff like that, investing in base metals, a serious investment, you might be the owner of, say, 30,000 pounds of copper. That is something that you're going to need some more information about. It's not something you're going to literally store on your property or in your home. So that's more of like paper investments, owning shares of things, stuff like that. I don't really get into there's a lot of information in this book pertaining to paper investments like that, and specifically for even gold and silver. If you were to, buy large quantities of silver, let's say, and you don't want to store it personally, like physically own silver, because there's a lot of different ways you can own silver. Of course, you can own part of a company's ownership of silver. There's a lot of different ways you can go about getting paper investments. I'm not interested in any of that, but this does touch upon quite a bit of this. The author is a well-known investor, and being an investor, one of the things that you'll find is pretty versatile across the board with all investments is that you don't want to heavily invest in one thing. It's all about variety. And this particular person, I believe, recommends not investing any more than 10% in any specific vehicle, meaning physical metals should be about 10% of your investment money. Another 10% going into, they get into mining stocks, which is a really interesting concept because of the popularity of metals and gold and silver. I mean, think about this, and it's kind of an eye-opener. It's something that I wouldn't have thought of without reading this book. But investing in mining stocks is a really interesting idea that may not be, as thought of as just basically buying silver and gold. So if you're into stocks in the stock market, think about it. It's a great concept. Metal and gold. Did it again, metal and gold. Silver and gold and other precious metals, they come from the earth, right? And as the demand goes up, the supply goes down. We keep taking it from the ground. We have to keep going and finding it. Well, as popularity grows, it's the supply is going to go down and the demand is going to keep going up. So what's going to happen is that all the stocks for these mines that are actually mining the gold and silver for us, those are going to go through the roof. So that's a completely different aspect of investing. If you're someone who has some, serious money to invest, besides physically owning gold and silver, it would be a great investment to look into, some mine stocks. Now, they also get into details between going to a well-known mine as opposed to junior mines, which are basically, that's kind of a crapshoot. And there's even charts in here like risk assessment charts about mines as well, and different stocks in general. All right, so if you're going to back some stocks on some company that just opened up that's going to mine for gold, they may completely be successful. They may be, go under business or go out of business within like a couple months. Who knows? So as far as mining stocks, he of course recommends something that's a little bit more sound, such as an established mine already. But anyway, really, really interesting. Let me go to table of contents here. Give myself a little refresher. But here's the breakdown of all the different subjects at hand. It's interesting. One thing a lot of people point out with this book is that there is an entire section on uranium. Uranium is supposedly a very overlooked resource. All joking aside about people glowing and stuff like that, you can, buy uranium, and I believe uranium's something like 15 or 18% of the world's electricity comes from uranium. It's powered by uranium, and if our power sources in the future are compromised, then that may be something that rises in value, like really rises in value. So it's a very odd, rare investment, but of course there's information on it in here. There's all kinds of stuff in here. It's really just an awesome book. I did want to read, let's see, page 47, something to you that I find interesting. And this just goes again about risk. So recognizing the risks, and of course it talks about how, when you're investing specifically in paper stuff, and it's such as, like, let's say mining stocks, if your mines are in different countries, you kind of want to follow political trends because there could be political risk. And in some cases, even in the US, governments have seized precious metals, from their citizens just to back their own government. So there are some risks involved as far as that's concerned, but it's very low risk for physically owning silver and gold and any other kind of precious metal. Actually owning silver and or gold is a great investment. No one can argue that. But there is something I want to read on the bottom here I thought was interesting. It says a good example of the value of, say, gold or silver is what happened in Zimbabwe in 2006. On paper, almost everyone is a millionaire, but most people are really poor. The country underwent hyperinflation as the inflation rate hit the nosebleed level of 914% in 2006. Basic goods like a roll of toilet paper soared to $145,750. Only 69 cents in the US dollar. Gee, that might encourage some of their citizens to use Zimbabwe currency. So this is another reminder, and I actually bought some Zimbabwe currency. This is a real bill from the government of Zimbabwe, say Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe. And this bill is for $100 trillion. It's not fake, okay? Unlike this bill, here's a fake $1 million bill for US, right? No such thing, doesn't exist, completely fake. However, this is very much real money. This was really worth $100 trillion in Zimbabwe. How can that possibly be? How can they print out just thousands of these? And there's all kinds of increments, 50 billion, 100 billion, 100 million, 10 trillion, all kinds of these just astronomical denominations. And it is real money. It's just, this is an extreme case of hyperinflation. This is when the country devalues money so much. Okay, hyperinflation is such, it's so high that as I read, something like you go to buy toilet paper, instead of toilet paper being I don't know, $1 for a roll is $145,000 for a roll. So yeah, you need $100 trillion just to get by. It's really fascinating. And even though this is real money, I can't go cash this in anywhere because the government failed. Okay, the government in Zimbabwe failed. It ceased to exist. So their paper money, which was once worth something, okay, normal money, then it went to this funny money. Even though this is real, it was ridiculous. It was a state of emergency, pretty much, and the government failed completely. So when you look at your, $1 bill in your wallet, your real money you have right now, the question is, will it eventually turn into this? And then will it eventually just be no good anymore? Because this stuff right here, this paper, not this is fake. This paper, here's another real bill. This one specifically is for, let's see, $5 million, I believe, somewhere in Portugal, I forget. This one, from the third right, $50 million. This is all real money. Millions and millions of dollars in real money. The problem is that all these governments have failed. So when I go to use this money, no one backs it anymore. So the real question is, if our American money turns into that stuff and the US government goes away, what are you going to do with everything that you've worked for? It's all this. It's all worthless. That's the concept behind investing in silver, because when this money right here was real, this was still also real. When the government failed, you couldn't use this anywhere in the world. You could use this anywhere in the world. That's the whole concept behind fiat money versus what people consider real money. Silver and gold. Silver and gold carry value in every country all around the world and always will, period. How much? That fluctuates. But the paper stuff that we can make, that can go away. This is only as good as the government that's promising you something for it. Pieces of paper that are in your wallet, what we call money, is just a promise from our government to exchange for goods. But if the government no longer can keep their promises and they no longer exist, you can't go to a different country and say, hey, you know what? My country, they're just not giving me anything for this. Well, you're crap out of luck. No one's going to give you anything for that. It's a piece of paper. It's nothing. We can make this stuff. That's what's so scary, is we can make our own money. Whereas this, we can't make. We have to find. That's why it holds value, because there's a limited supply on the planet. And eventually we're going to run out of spots, to find it. It's going to be harder and harder to find. The supply is going to go down, the demand's going to go up, and the value is going to go up. So that's just food for thought. That's all. It doesn't mean get rid of all your paper. And I've tried to talk about this before too. We still use this today because it's still good. When the value of this goes down, the value of this goes up. Okay, they're always working against each other. All right, when silver prices are down, that's good, because first of all, you can buy a bunch of it, and second of all, our US dollar is valued more. When it goes down, the whole concept of investing here is you buy a bunch of silver when it's cheap. All right, when the dollar's tanking and this goes up, you sell a bunch of this for more of this. Okay, because unfortunately, today's day and age, you can't really go into a store and buy normal common goods with this stuff. Not easily anyway. We can with this. So, fiat money versus real money. It's an interesting concept. Doesn't mean I'm only using silver, only collecting gold and silver. No, of course, I need regular money to survive like everyone else. But it's still interesting. Anyway, this book is a fantastic read. It goes in great depth on everything you're going to need to know about precious metals. And like I said, and a bunch of other things too. It talks about the 40%, 90% in circulation, things to look for. Talks about different ways to invest and risk management. The difference between collecting bullion and collecting coins for numismatic value, stuff like that. It is probably, it has to be the best book I've personally ever read. I could say that from opinion, but I'm saying it's probably the best, most comprehensive, easy to understand guide for investing in precious metals. So if you're interested in this subject, this is definitely a great book to pick up. Like I said, get it cheap, get it used, and it's an interesting read. If nothing else, you're going to educate yourself, which is fantastic. So if you are tinkering with the idea of investing, this is a great place to start. It's going to give you a lot of the basic information. I know this might seem like it's exciting and yeah, it's cool, and everyone wants to make money, and owning shiny real gold and real silver is a very cool concept, but it can be scary if you don't know what you're talking about. And this is a great way just to learn the basics and some. So highly, highly recommended. Precious Metals Investing for Dummies. And again, I'll link you to the author who wrote this book, because he has a lot of great things to say. And like all the best, silver bugs out there, they can predict pretty much, the trends as to when things climb, when they spike. And he's forecasting, he said, don't be shocked if you see $75 silver, $100 an ounce silver, within the next year or two. So you just never know. But nothing's a guarantee in life, It's really interesting read. It's a very simple read. Even if you're like in anywhere from 6th grade to, high school, you can have fun reading this, and your parents walk into the room, and instead of playing Xbox, you're reading a book on precious metals investing. You're going to probably make smoke come out of their ears. It would probably pleasantly surprise them, put it that way. So it'd be really nice for some of the younger people out there to just educate yourself about things. It'd be nice. It doesn't mean you have to spend all your money on gold and silver. Knowledge is free and knowledge is power. So I would highly recommend getting some of that stuff. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. By the way, like I said, these bills are real. You can get these on eBay for about $1 to $5 a piece. There's all kinds of denominations. You can get a whole bunch of them. So if this is something that's interesting to you too, because I love this stuff as conversation pieces. Again, this one's fake, and this is the conversation I have with this. These are real bills worth millions and millions of dollars for governments that were failing and they ceased to exist. That's why I was able to buy them for $2 or $3 US. So it's really interesting. Fantastic book. Go get yourself one, and I'm sure by the time you're done reading it, you're gonna want to own at least a couple of these. So that's all. Thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate your time as always. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you soon. Take care.